This video is for anyone that is interested in capturing learning, recording evidence, and/or any observational data, as well as if you choose to, make assessments against any form of individualized outcomes, such as EHCPs, educational healthcare plans, or any short, mid-term, or long-term learning intention or outcome that a learner is working against. So PLGs are two things. They're a special type of framework and an assessment book. The frameworks are special because they're just for one learner. So we're going to have a look at some of the examples of assessment books side of the PLGs, and this will also give you some ideas on how you can structure the framework for your individual learners. So the first one we're going to tap into is this one here for Harry Wolf. So this is the assessment book part of the PLG, and an assessment book is a way to look at your framework and see all the information that's been collected against each of the learning goals. This one's quite a simple one. They've got the long-term outcomes from the EHCP at the top, and then they've added in the shorter-term outcomes below. This shows you how much evidence has been collected against each of the learning outcomes. And you also have the added option to make the learning outcomes accessible, and that's what this school's chosen to do. So to make a professional judgment, you can tap on the dotted box to the right of the outcome, and you can create your own assessment aspects and schemas, which is essentially the continuum that you want to use to assess a learning outcome. So in this second example, it's actually for the same learner at the same school, as they chose to create a separate PLG, one for the EHCP, which we just looked at, and this one for the termly learning outcomes and intentions. You can see they've customized the headings, and they've also chose to use a different continuum for this particular PLG. You can also tap in the history column to be able to see all historical judgments that's been made against that particular learning outcome. And you can also make professional statements against each learning outcome. And this is a space provided so that teachers or SLT are able to write summary reports or moderation comments against each of the outcomes. And that can be done here. The framework items within a PLG can be easily adapted and evolved over time, so it can follow a learner through their entire journey throughout the school if you choose to. To help manage this process, you can very quickly set up and change the views so that you're only viewing the framework items that you want to see at that particular time. So over the next two examples, we're going to look at how within one school, you can have different templates for different learning pathways. So this is an example of a learner following a semi-formal pathway, and this school chose to assess using MAP. You can see they've used baselines and expected outcomes to manage and monitor assessment over time. This is for a learner at the same school following a pre-formal pathway, and they've customized their headings to be different. So in this example, we're going to look at a popular way that many schools have chosen to structure their PLGs. They've taken the long-term target from the EHCP as well as the shorter-term targets. And this also allows the class teacher to, when they're ready to add in the termly learning intentions or the smaller steps as and when they're going to be working on them. In each case, the framework is used to capture evidence as other frameworks are. And the PLGs are a great way for reviewing and preparing for annual review meetings or parental meetings, or for teachers just to review progress and to plan future teaching. Just to point out, this percentage figure is coming from the Insights for Learning app. This final example is modelled on a specialist resource base attached to a mainstream school. So they use the PLG to plan and clearly show the sequence of learning for their learners. They've started with a key stage goal and broken it down into the sequence of learning as the learner works towards the longer term outcome. What's also interesting, in addition to being able to see how much evidence has been gathered against each of these outcomes, we can tap into any of them and we get a timeline of all the evidence or observational notes that's been gathered against that one learning outcome. And what that effectively gives us is case studies, both in terms of what the teachers and teaching assistants have done, and the multidisciplinary team, and what the parents have done and how they've worked together to support the learning and help move learning forward. It also beautifully demonstrates impact, as we can tap into any of these pieces of evidence and see this as a starting point. We can then come out of that piece of evidence And we can have a look at any of these pieces of evidence and the videos attached to be able to see progress made. For demonstration, we'll go to the final piece of evidence, or the most recent one gathered. You won't be able to hear the audio for confidential reasons, but you can see that just for demonstration purposes, you can see how this demonstrates clearly the impact and the progress that a learner has made and the inputs that have gone into it. So hopefully that's given you a good overview, and everything that we've given you a glimpse of today, we have comprehensive guides and videos within EFL resources. Do check out our other guides and videos that we have within the EFL resources, and please always feel free to email us using services@theteachercloud.net, or call us if you'd like to arrange a one-to-one session or have a chat about how you would like to explore or use individual outcomes and PLGs at your school.